In 1955, two young sweethearts, Jack Shakespeare and Doreen Good, were married, and 3 short years later made a life-changing decision to take the £10 ticket and emigrate from England to Australia. However, after just 18 months, they were homesick for the old country and decided to go back. They soon embarked on an incredible journey and filmed it along the way. This is Jack and Doreen's story.
Our first milk bar that we bought actually was, in fact, a general store. People came in for the milkshakes, which consisted of milk with flavouring and just a threepenny piece of ice cream on the top floating, and that was classed as a spider.
In those days, for £10, I'd got to stay in the country for 2 years. But after 18 months, you start to get like an homesick. I still miss the Willys. But that was the main thing. My mum and dad and my brother. And then that was when I decided. I says, what are we going to do, love? I said, we're going to drive there.
I wasn't bothered one way or the other. I was quite happy to stay there. But in the end, we decided to make the trip. And he had the job of getting the truck ready and everything. So I just sat back and waited for it to happen.
Jack and Doreen prepared their 20-year-old Willys Jeep and at dawn drove through the streets of Melbourne. Doreen made detailed daily records and Jack used his trusted 8mm cine camera to record faithfully the scenes as a permanent record. Using an old-school atlas, they drove from their home just outside Melbourne and travelled overland, across the Sydney Harbour Bridge and onto the quayside at Brisbane. The first 1,600 miles of their colourful trip.
We got to Brisbane, and then the next thing then was to get onto this boat.
We got on board this ship.
That's better.
At the dockside, okay?
Yeah.
And we had to stand waiting while they cast off, and all the people that were on the docks were throwing streamers and everything, and the people on the boats were doing the same, you know. So finally we got away from the docks.
The liner took them through the Coral Sea and past the Barrier Reef, Indonesia, Singapore and Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, and eventually onto Bombay in Western India, where their voyage of discovery began in earnest.
When we got to Bombay, the Willys Jeep got lifted off the boat.
The truck was suspended on a huge crane hanging over this damaged pier that it had got to land on. Well, that's what he said. So we had to try and con the bloke that we would give him a tip.
And then as soon as the car was on the terra firma, he came round and he says, I'm the crane driver, and he got short-changed then.
You know what we started off with? An atlas, a school atlas. We couldn't get any maps when we left Australia.
We picked a few up on the way, but not much.
We picked a few up in India and then a few up in Pakistan, you know, at the frontier and things like that. But we didn't have anything to start with. So I just turned in over these pages of the kids' atlas, you know, school atlas.
Every time we got lost, it was Doreen's fault.
Yeah.
But there again, there was probably only one route to go along. Another little thing I remembered about India, when we got there first, we slowed down, I looked up in the trees and I could see all these vultures looking down. And I kept thinking, keep your eyes off me, mate. I said, we'll keep on going. And I go along the way and I saw this enormous elephant coming. And I said to Doreen, this bloke's got the right of way. So I got out of the car, pulled to one side, and when he walked past, as Doreen will tell you, all she could see was big trunks of trees walking past. I thought if ever he decides to sit on that there, we've had it. From Bombay, we went straight up to Delhi.
Yeah, saw the Taj.
Yeah.
We decided to go and have a real good walk around the gardens first before we went into the temple. And I only thought there was one waterway in front of this beautiful thing. And instead of that, there's actually 4. And that was a total shock to us, wasn't it?
There was no tourists. And I can always remember one incident. There was a lad there begging. And I asked him, I said, what the money for? A pen. And I can remember then I give this lad my fountain pen. It really made his day. One thing that impressed you when we was going through India, when we went into a shop and they treated us like royalty, didn't they?
Each time we went into a shop to get anything, they offered you a receipt straight away, which absolutely amazed me. And then straight away the owner of the shop sent someone out to get a cold Coca-Cola. And I've never had such hospitality ever before or since.
They then drove their beloved old Willys Jeep through India to Pakistan.
We went into Pakistan and we pulled up at night at an army place. And in fact the army stopped me. And there was a bit of a talk of where we was going, and they says, well, we don't want you to proceed unless you've got an armed escort. He says there's a bus going through tomorrow and there'll be an armed escort to take you straight along the track. So I thought, this don't sound too good. So me and the boss lady had a big conference. As soon as it got break of day, I said to Doreen, we'll move. Previously, a bit well I slept, I made sure I was on a bit of a slope. So early in the morning we got up, everything was quiet, and there was a chain across the road, and there was a sentry there. Fortunately, he was asleep. So I says to Doreen, I says, we'll roll it down, and I says, I'll get in the car, get the chain across, I'll start the car up and jump in and we'll go. And that's what we did. I looked through the bin, I could see the soldier now waving his gun and shouting, and suddenly, out of nowhere, come one of these so-called bandits. So I simply slowed right down, opened the window and said to him, hey, going, mate, and waved to him. He just waved back. So then we went all round the side of Pakistan until we come to Persia.
We saw this band of gypsies in the paddock on the left-hand side of the road, and they'd got a bear tied up. It was quite a big one, and he was chained up to this pole, you see. So these gypsies realised we were taking films of them and the bear, and they started jabber-jawing away and waving their fists, and they shouted, machine, machine. And I jokingly turned to him and I said, you know what's happened? I said, they put a curse on us.
I said, don't be stupid.
And he said, don't be stupid. So I said, okay. So we just carried on driving down, and we were part way through into the built-up area of the town.
And the back axle broke.
And the back axle broke on the car. Can you believe it? And I said, there, I told you. I said, it was a curse.
But we did carry a few spares, and fortunately, the spares, the things that broke, I got the spare part.
All my life, whatever he had to repair, I know that he'll fix it. I've always had faith in him. To me, if he says he's going to go to the moon, I'd probably think, you know, well, we'll get there.
From Persia, later renamed Iran, the Shakespeares drove through Turkey and its capital Ankara to Istanbul.
We had to get across the Bosphorus. And I can remember this because there was a ferry, and we had to put our Willys on a ferry. But I notice now there's a great big freeway across there, but in those days it was we had to go on the ferry.
On their trip of a lifetime, travelling halfway round the world, Jack and Doreen continued their journey through Europe from Bulgaria to Switzerland.
We went up to Switzerland.
Yeah, through the Simplon Pass.
Switzerland up to
France. Over to Le Touquet. Yeah. On the old Bristol freighter.
Yeah.
To Lyd. Yeah.
From the old country we then went to down the M1 until we got to Birmingham.
Their incredible 3-month journey took them over dramatic terrain and unmade roads, braving snowstorms, searing heat, wild animals, and both amazing hospitality and fearsome bandits. They covered a total of 12,000 miles over 114 days and spent just £71 on petrol.
When we pulled the truck up, my mother-in-law and father-in-law weren't expecting us, so we just opened the door and walked in, and she said, oh my God, oh my God, she said, the kids are here, you know. And Jack said, I'll go and find my dad, you know.
And the next thing I saw this car pull up and he got out, and I can remember he hugged me. And in those days, you didn't hug a bloke, and it was that's most emotional. We made a big decision. I turned to the boss lady and I says, we're going back, aren't we? And she says, I've been waiting for you to say that. We'd done a quick overhaul on the Willys, and we set off again.